Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Paragon Guide. I am Sylphin. In this video we are taking a look at the jungle of Monolith. What is it? What does it contain? What's its purpose? What are the various things that we find in it? And how do we best utilize these jungles to become dominant on the battlefield of Monolith? So you are wondering, what is the jungle? What do I do with it? What does it look like? This is the video for you. So it's best to get a overview, kind of top-down look of exactly what the jungle is, and this is probably the best way to do it. Here is the mini-map found in game. So the whole map of Monolith is asymmetrical, meaning that the left and right sides aren't the same for the teams. So as we can see here, the river cuts it on a diagonal, and the left and right sides are mirrored and reversed. So this right lane is nice and long for the blue team, but the enemy's right lane is nice and long. So it kind of flip-flops on a central axis here, and it's kind of reversed for each team. So this asymmetry means that one of these jungles is going to be bigger. One of the quadrants here is a little bit smaller than this other quadrant. So the right side of the jungle for both teams is larger, and the left jungle is smaller. There's different names for them, and the right jungle is called the strong jungle, followed by the left jungle being the weak jungle. Strong and weak. The strong jungle is larger, but it also contains much more things. As we can see, we have 3 white camps. Normal white minions. You kill them, gain you experience, and they also feed the amber link. Everything that you kill in the jungle also feeds the amber link, which is right here with this harvester sort of icon. The amber link is something very important that we'll talk about more when we get in the match and start looking at it. So it is very important, something you need to ward off, continuously feed for your team. We also find a green buff right over here, right close by to our 2 white camps. The green buff also is very, very important for doing numerous things, especially clearing these white camps when they become reinforced to 5. Also in this right jungle we have a river buff that is a little bit safer to get. It's on your strong jungle. Your laner has a little bit of a jaunt to get to, but that's a little bit of a safer buff for you to get. And also it has a gold buff. This gold buff you don't touch. It's just for your right lane duo, for your carry to get for those last hits in lane. Don't really touch that. You're really only concerned about this part here. Now, something else about this is that there's a little jump pad that shoots you over to the weak side of the jungle, and it's right here. You kind of walk up here from the green buff, and it's right here. It flings you across right to about here on the weak side of the jungle. Okay, it's a nice easy traveling between the jungles. Puts you right here on the weak side of the jungle. The weak side, it's pretty weak for a number of reasons. One, there's only 2 white camps. And these white camps, I would prefer, if I was a jungler with good laning heroes, I would leave these white camps for my laners. If they are good, if I can get some good rotations off and gank the enemy team, that provides them the opportunity to either push the tower or play a little bit more conservatively, go back and kill these white camps. If we can give these white camps to our laners, it actually gives them an advantage over the enemy team. Hopefully they can't do the same, and just helps them out a little bit. We also find something else in our weak jungle that maybe makes it maybe not so weak in reality, but it is weak just because there's 2 white camps. We find either the Raptors or the Orb Prime, depending on which side of the map you're on. You know, relative to you, it could be Raptors or Orb Prime in your weak jungle. So this is what the Raptors look like, a little black, but a little smaller. You can see there's much more black in this area. That is the jungle, or the Raptors, pardon me. And this is what the Orb Prime looks like. As you can see, much more open, much more space for those team fights to happen to actually kill that Orb Prime. So it depends on which side of the map you're on. It can either be Raptors or Orb Prime. That pretty much sums up the kind of overview of the jungle. Now we're going to go in-game and take a look at what the jungle looks like, what's the terrain, and also what do these camps exactly do. So here is a top-down view in-game of our jungle. We have our strong jungle right here, and we have our weak jungle on the left. As you can see, there's a reason why we started with a mini-map. Can't really see very much. So this is the strong side of the jungle, the weak side, and there's two central access points from your main base found right here in your inhibitors. There's two fog walls here that actually provide you some little bit of cover from going in your jungles. As you can see, there's one right here on the right into your strong jungle, and here on the left into your weak. Now if you go into this strong jungle, you can actually see that the central courtyard-ish area is actually very interesting. There's some elevation here with these rocks and stairs that give you a very interesting perspective on it. If you're a ranged hero and there's a fighting in your jungle, obviously you can use this, but you can also use this as a jungler to easily traverse, just kind of jump around from these, evade some enemies that happen to be jungling. Very interesting opportunities with this elevation. But what it also does is kind of separate the three main camps that we find kind of right in the central area. The two white camps and this green buff on the side. And there's that staircase, as you can see, right to that jump pad, which shoots you into the weak side of the jungle. So that is kind of this main courtyard of the strong jungle. I kind of like to call it a pseudo courtyard. What we also find though is the amber link, which is right here just in front of our main kind of courtyard here. This amber link is very important. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Now these white camps, as you can see, right now there's 5. They start out with 1, and every few minutes afterwards they level, or they reinforce, they reinforce. 1 additional minion is added, and in the early game they're hard to kill when they get much more than 2 or 3. They're really hard to kill later on, obviously not that much when you're more powerful, but in the early game they are difficult. You can kill them, get your hero and card XP, and also when you kill anything in the jungle here, it actually grants card power into your amber link. It starts to fill up. As you can see, it's just a little right at the bottom there, filling up just a bit every 2 minutes. This then kind of has a little cool animation, shoots into the sky, and grants the rest of your team some card power. Hopefully Epic buffs this a little bit. I feel like it's a little weak, but it's your responsibility as a jungler here to take out all of these camps and provide your rest of your team card power through that amber link. That's pretty much it with the white camps. AoE abilities, obviously fantastic at clearing those out. Something else that's fantastic at clearing out the white camps is this guy, the green buff. What the green buff does, you kill it, it grants you a shield that mitigates damage. Just straight up prevents damage from hitting you, but once the shield expires, either through people doing enough damage to you, or it wears off over time, it will explode for quite a bit of damage. It really is fairly significant. So if you can grab that, take down a level 5 camp, move on to the next one, and this level 5 camp takes the shield off, it'll blow up, do a fair amount of damage, and really quicken up your farm. But you can also use that shield though is for something like tower diving or ganking. It is very powerful in that right, so don't underestimate the power of this green buff to do ganks and or tower dive. Now that we know kind of what this amber link does, you need to protect it and just be a good teammate as well, and you need to ward. So there's some fantastic ward spots for your strong jungle, and that spot is definitely right here in the river, just off your strong jungle, right down here. Placing a ward right about here gives line of sight, which wards now work on, to this whole area over here, and of course the whole area here. So if any of the enemy tries to jump down here, go through this, or simply walks through Orb Guardian, you're going to be able to see them. This is a fantastic spot for a ward as well. Another fantastic spot is right here to prevent any enemy heroes from coming up here, walking through this shadow pad, stealing the duo lane's gold buff, or simply coming in here for a gank. Absolutely a very good spot for for a ward right here, or actually right down here on the river as well. definitely need wards here, both to protect your Amber Link, but also your friendly teams in those lanes. It's much more than just the jungle. You need to also be a team player. So once you've done taking out that strong jungle, you can use this jump pad right here to shoot yourself right over here to the weak side of the jungle. Now, right from this weak side of the jungle, like I said, there are those two white camps. One right here for the mid lane, that's kind of right over there. You can see that he can Scorch. He can easily come through here and take this. I would prefer to save it for those mid laners so that the jungler doesn't have to do so much, and they can try to gank, but also provide them with a little bit more card power. Now, through this shadow wall right here, you can see that here's our friendly tier 1 tower and the white camp. This is very, very safe for your off laner, for your left laner to take. I would definitely save this for them. Communicate that to your left laner. Tell them, get that white camp when the enemy duo has to retreat, because this will provide them with that much needed card power that they're already starved for. So that is the weak jungle. It's pretty simple. Just one path there to that white camp, one path here, and then another path here to the mid lane and to the Raptors or the Prime Guardian on the other side, depending on which side of the map you are on. So here, right through here, is your Raptors, or the Orb Guardian would be sitting over there, if you're depending on what side, and then of course the river. Now again, wards are very important. As you can see, actually, Ziggy Scorch does exactly what I am going to recommend, putting a ward right here for that excellent line of sight here for the enemy strong jungle and this river buff. But also a ward right about here is also very strong to look up into there, into the enemy's strong jungle, and monitor the Raptors as well, plus giving you vision for any heroes trying to come in here and gank your off lane. So there are two ward positions. You can obviously place wards inside of your jungle, one right here, which is right by this white camp, which you can save for your mid laner. You can definitely put a ward right here to give nice line of sight, especially if any of the enemy team wants to go through the Raptors or Prime Guardian and come through this way to try to take out your mid laner. That's actually one spot I would for sure ward off, right either here to give your mid laner some respite, some vision over here from any ganks, or perhaps right here. But I would perhaps do this to help protect them a little bit more. Now, what do these Raptors do? Why are they in a spot that's kind of equivalent to Orb Prime? Well, it's because they are very, very powerful. These Raptors, when you kill them, when you only get the last hit, only the last hit, it grants you 1000 card experience, which is the equivalent of 1 card power. It's very, very powerful. The issue, though, is that they have a lot of health and they deal a lot of damage. Plus, as you can see, they can actually reinforce to a maximum of 3. They reinforce every 5 or 6 minutes, I do believe, and they have to be a solid commitment for your team to get. You can't do this solo, besides maybe in the late mid game, early to late game. Can people solo this? Can they have enough damage with some maybe life steal or some armor and health? At that point you can solo, but before then, which you definitely should be getting, it needs to be a solid commitment between 2 people. Generally, you want to save this card power for your ranger, just to feed them a little bit, or some maybe powerful casters that can really swing the tide of some battles. Save it for them. They are very, very important. You need to ward these guys off. Again, there's the ward over there that the mid laner should be placing, but you should perhaps be placing a ward right here in this little crossroads. Pardon me. Or again, like I did say, either right here to protect your mid laner, or up here as well. This doesn't provide line of sight for the jungle, for that Raptors or the Prime Guardian. Again, right here would be better. Now here is the Prime Guardian. If you happen to be on that side of the map, relative to whatever you happen to be, this is what the Prime Guardian looks like. You can see much open area, nice confined spot for some pretty epic team fights to happen. Prime Guardian, pretty simple, grants you a fair amount of card power and hero experience, but more importantly, it gives you your prime orb, or your prime card. It activates it for an incredible boost of power. It's very, very powerful, something that you need to ward off. As you can see, somebody has done. So once again, you can definitely put a ward right inside because there is a smaller area, or you can simply just come over here, place a ward right here. Another great spot is right by that ledge over there, like we have said already, or over on the weak side as well. So you can put a ward right in the middle here, or if you would like to, again, you can protect your mid laner right there, or head on down over here, and a very, very famous spot for these wards right in this crossroads right here, as you can see what somebody has done to watch each side of these lanes, so that your off lane and the strong lane can not get ganked on. Very, very, very important if you to put a ward here for this orb prime. It is very, very powerful, especially in that mid game to late mid game. You need to have this warded off for sure, because it is very, very important. Now there's two more buffs that you need to know about. We're sitting right over top our tier 1 tower at the moment, looking out across the map. We have our strong jungle and our weak jungle over here. If we go down to the river, closer to the mid lane to the other lanes, there is two buffs. If we go down here to past this river, there is this one river buff over here that we should have warded off with a ward sitting right about here. And there's another one on the other side of our mid lane, which is a little bit farther for the mid laner to go, but it's on the strong side, and that's right there. Again, we should have it warded right by this little cliff here to look into your jungle, protect your Amberlink, and down here for our Prime or the Raptors. So what do these jungle buffs do? There's a few of them, and they are random. As you can see, there's certain colors that kind of come up on these little symbols here, and that kind of tell you what they are. There's 4 of them: red, purple, blue, and black. Red gives you increased ability damage, so then they're fantastic for, obviously, casters. So if you see a red buff, let your mid lane caster know so that they can go and grab it. Purple is amazing. It grants you invisibility. You enter the Shadow Realm and you can use that to travel anywhere invisible. Obviously, this is fantastic for ganking. Of course, the jungler, that's one of their main roles, is to gank. So if you see an invisibility buff, go and grab that for some pretty epic ganks and some pretty epic plays. You can also, of course, invade the enemy jungle, maybe steal a camp or two, or just simply figure out where that enemy jungler is, maybe coordinate something there. Very powerful. It's incredibly powerful. One of the things your mid laner is also responsible for is ganking as well. Rotating left and right lane through the river to get some ganks off with that invisibility buff. That can also be used for them as well. There's the blue buff, which increases your movement speed. That's pretty powerful. I would say that's probably one of the least powerful of all of them. And the most powerful, in my opinion, is definitely the black buff. It applies a damage over time effect, and I believe it's proportional to your damage that you deal, or it's just a lot of damage. Whatever it is, it's a lot of damage. If you get that black buff, oh boy, you should make something happen with it. Gank, attack a tower, do something with that, because boy, that damage is real. One of the things you should definitely do with the river buffs, though, is communicate about them. If you have vision of them, the color does change on your minimap, so that is another reason why you need wards. If you haven't gotten the hint already, wards. So that is very important. Communicate them, the colors, because it can make the mid laner and anybody really that's traveling through the river much, much more powerful. And there you guys go. That is my guide for the jungle. The jungle is pretty complicated. There's timings on the jungle. There's rotations that you can create. There's fantastic ganking opportunities. This video is more about what the jungle is, not necessarily on how to jungle. So there's some key points in there, some good descriptions, I hope, of the jungle and what it is, and hopefully this helps you guys kind of understand it. What you really need to do is just run through it, get familiarized with the layout of the jungle. It is pretty complicated, especially with each side being different and it's not asymmetrical. So familiarize yourself with the jungle. Spend a few times in some solo VAI games just running through the jungle, just trying it out, because it's pretty complicated and I get it. So there you guys go. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you guys learned a tidbit or two about the jungle. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, because I hope to help a lot of people learn. And of course, subscribe. If you enjoyed this, found it useful, please hit that subscribe button so that I can do it for you in the future. Like always, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay optimistic and positive.